you can be one with the Father. You're still not the unique one God, but you're one with him. He's wearing you as his perfume. You're wearing him as your perfume. The only people who could tell the difference would be the ones in the middle, in the dance. Because to everyone else, it looks like one. Hello, my name is Paul Hopkins. Welcome to Spiritual Realities. I want to thank the sponsors of this channel, my Patreon supporters, who along with generous others are enabling this venture. You can find the Patreon page at www.patreon.com/Paul Hopkins. If you've got like something, have you heard of a physical Bible? You know, we used to have physical Bible with pages. So if you do, you might want to turn to John chapter 17 just to check that I am telling the truth. Though, of course, my Bible is the same as your Bible, I think. I'm using an ESV. And John 17, this amazing prayer of Jesus. And here's my experience over the last decade or so is how little I know, even after years of doing full-time Christian ministry. I've encountered God so many different ways and experiences, and it is changing constantly. I don't know about you, but it's changing how I see things. It's like, wow, there's way more than I thought. And we can read these scriptures over and over and miss things. And I want us to look at something which I believe is mystically incredible, like remarkable, that we often tend to not look at because we're looking at the surface meaning of things. John 17 is, John's the only one who records this of the gospel writers. So here he is, he's probably writing after the destruction of the temple. I'll stick my neck out there if there's any academics out there, but he's writing later. He's compiled his life experience and his walk, and he wants to put something in about his personal walk with Jesus. So he's got a load of different stories than the other three synoptic gospels put in. And this is Jesus praying around the Last Supper and just before he's crucified. And it must be a summary. And I guess John heard this, which is extraordinary. It's extraordinary as it is that Jesus would talk to the Father. I mean, I find that extraordinary. They are one. And they are unique and one. This is this Trinity mystery thing. But Jesus asks the Father and requests, wow, this is wild. And maybe it's just me who's thinking that. But verse 11, let's look at that. And he's saying to the Father, I am no longer in the world. He's talking about the fact that he's going to leave. He's going to be crucified and rise from the dead. But they are in the world, talking of his disciples. And I'm coming to you. He's talking to the Father. That's you is the Father. Holy Father, keep them in your name, which you have given me. I mean, this is loaded with Hebraic hyperlinks stuff. If you're a Jew, you get tons of this, but we read it and go, just ordinary words. Holy Father, keep them in your name, which you have given me. Jesus was given this name, whatever it is, that they may be one, even as we are one. I mean, I could stop there. That's just extraordinary if you think about it. I mean, I've heard, and I've probably done it myself, surface level messages where we talk about, oh, this is about loving one another, because we go down to verse 22 and 23. And it's about us forgiving one another and building good community. And certainly that's going to be part of this, but this is way deeper than that. And he's not primarily talking about us, the disciples, being one with each other, because you see that from verse 22 and 23, which we'll get to. He's talking about them being one as has Jesus as Christ is one with the Father. So in other words, you, us, the disciples, one with the Father, one with the Son. I mean, one. Just as Jesus was one with the Father. Like they said, like the disciples say to Jesus, show us the Father. Is it Thomas says, show us the Father and we'll be happy? No, I think it's Philip, isn't it? Show us the Father. And he says, don't you know me? If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Now, it obviously doesn't mean like a photograph. If you've seen me, you've seen the same like look as the Father. That's what the Father looks like. Here's like the family album. Jesus, the Father, and look, you see our similarities. It's obviously not. It's much deeper than that. He's saying if you've perceived correctly, not just seen on the surface, you realise that I and the Father are one. You can't. If you've seen me, everything about me, even though I'm unique, is the same as the Father. It's this thing, another word that gets used in the scriptures is this word likeness, like we are going to be in his likeness. These are mystical, extraordinary words. So if you've seen Jesus, if you've perceived who he is and all his behaviours, and Jesus said, if you've seen me, you have seen the Father. Like the Father is operating through me, but it's me as well. It's like there is a complete harmony, flow, oneness between the Father and the Son. Now, I come from a small academic background. We wouldn't have a problem with that. We could get theologically excited about this. This is the Trinity. I mean, we don't understand this, but it's amazing and we explore it. And of course, the Father and the Son can be one. He's praying here. Well, he's saying that the disciples, may be one with the Father and the Son. What? And I think if any of us have come from, I don't know, a slightly evangelical background or whatever flavour that you like to be called, but it's been touched by the evangelical tradition, we kind of go a bit like twitchy if you're going too near this, because it means, no, you're not saying we become God, are you, Paul? It's like and that's, it gets really hard to talk about this. We don't really have language. But, just to put everyone at ease, of course we don't become Yahweh. I mean, Yahweh's a mystery. He's been forever. He was. We never was. We is. He was. And that's unique. But that's not oneness and likeness means. You can be one with the Father. You're still not the unique one God, but you're one with him. So you are utterly like him. Well, that's what he's praying. That just sounds like, if you then go back to effort and being a good Christian, that's impossible. Come on. I can't just behave good and do that. And anyway, it's more than that. It's like a supernatural flow. And then let's go down to verse 22 and 23. I hope you don't mind me using the Bible. It helps because then people realise I'm still a Christian. And that's really good because they don't throw me out of too many churches. So verse 22, that the glory you have given me, this is Jesus speaking to the Father, the glory that you, the Father, have given to me, I have given to them. all this is so rich and dense. All we can do is just sort of go, we just engage with these things on the surface most of the time. So whatever glory is, and that is a big question, whatever this glory is, and we're certainly not going to understand it unless we're immersed in Hebraic understanding, unless, of course, you have direct encounter with Yahweh and he starts to unpack it, which I suspect more and more of us will. Is the glory that's on Jesus is given to you, that they may be one as we are one. So there's some connection between a oneness flow and a glory flow, if you like. There's some joining there. Like, if you're like, there's glory. If you're one, there's a glory. And the glory seems to empower to be one. Verse 23, I in them and you in me. Oh, I'm already losing it. There's too many in me's and in you's and whatever. But it's one. There's something here. That you may be perfectly one. And here's the, I'm sorry, it's the ESV. And I have the jitters whenever I see that Greek word translated as perfect, because it just doesn't work for us. It triggers the wrong thing in our heads. It's teleos, and it means mature, purely mature, like pure, mature. Like in Hebraic thinking, a seed of a tree would be that have the potential for mature and would be pure at that point. And when it's grown, it's fully expressed. So it grows, but it's not getting better and better, if you like, and less sinful. It's expressing itself. That they may be utterly united and established. Again, not that we would be God, but would be like this like thing. So that the world may know that you sent me and love them even as you loved me. And I know, and I've done it, and I think there's an element of truth to this. This is one level of understanding this for sure, that if we care for one another, that's striking to people who don't know Jesus. I've seen that happen again and again. I remember when I was with YWAM, and we did a street outreach in the middle of London, and we did this drama. We had this fantastic drama. I mean, we'd spent weeks perfecting this drama. It was stunning, and it was philosophically sound. And it was a battle between God and Satan, and the guy who played Satan, he was a Norwegian guy. I was so impressed with him, because I said to him, I wouldn't want to play Satan. How are you doing this? You're so into this, and yet you're such a godly guy, eh? And he said, it's my privilege to expose the works of Satan. And I thought, whoa, intense guy. And we did this outreach. It was these drama, several places, powerful. We did it in Leicester Square. Here we are, Leicester Square, one of the hearts of London. And it just went horribly wrong. I mean, we had about 30 people watching, and the thing just, I don't know what happened. People forgot their lines. It all just went wrong, totally. And everyone ended up laughing, and because we abandoned it and just sort of started to laugh and high-five and hug and have a joke and cry with laughter. And you know what? We had about 200 people watching us. They just came, I don't know where they came from. They were there. And one guy came up to me, because I wasn't in the drama, I'm watching it. One guy comes up to me and goes, "What's this?" I said, "What do you mean?" It's we're Christians and we're doing a drama. He said, No, not that. They're forgiving one another. That guy messed it up and the others don't mind. And yeah, what's that? And I thought, well, that's love. And he went, blimey. And his heart went, yeah, it really touched him. And we had more powerful conversations then than any other time in that outreach in London. So it definitely does mean that, but I think it's more than that. I think it was more than just care that's going on there. That's glory. Because God was doing a number on us on that score. We were going softer and softer in our hearts. And you end up with a flow in your hearts that's not just what we might call love, that you've worked out what love would do in a certain situation. You're just flowing in it. And then people see Jesus. They see the Father. They perceive these ways, like that guy is going, what is that? He's seeing the glory. And we were beginners. But something is happening, and here's the teleos, here's the end, here's the final goal that's going on. Oneness with him, with them, with him. It's hard to explain the Trinity. They're in a dance, and we're invited in. So that then you can no longer go, you'll be going, is that Paul? No, it's Jesus. No, it's the Father. No, it's Paul. Like, so immersed and wrapped, you can't tell the difference. It seems to be unique to us. I love the angelic realm. I love what the angels' destinies might be. I think I know some of them and what their journey is, but this is unique to the line of Adam that's become the line of the Son of Man, Christ. Wow. If I join that with Paul, because I always have to go to Paul because he has such a great name. So if I always go to Paul, Ephesians chapter 3, 14 to 19, it's one of my favourite passages from Paul where he prays, he kneels before the Father, and he prays that you'll be strengthened by the Spirit in your inner being. He's praying for the Ephesian believers that they would grasp and be rooted and grounded in love and comprehend the breadth, length, height, and depth. He's run out of dimensions of that love. And to know that love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with the fullness of God. He's pointing to this teleos, this end. He's not just going, so you can have as good a life as possible. You're being persecuted by the Jews and the Roman persecution's coming, but you can still love each other. No, he's talking about that they will contain, or it's probably the wrong word, contain in a porous way the fullness of God. The fullness. It's hard for me to talk about this stuff because my legs start to tingle even while I'm doing a Zoom session. That Christ may dwell in your hearts. And here's the intersection. I'm going to draw in another scripture. Look, you can't say I'm not a Christian here. I'm using so many scriptures. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 10. I love this bit. The writer of Hebrews is quoting from, it's Ezekiel, but he also quotes from Jeremiah, the two famous passages that talk about the new covenant coming. And it says, after those days, declares the Lord, I will put my laws into their minds and write them on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And we'll know God, and no one will have to teach you to know God. And here's the thing. If you realize, really, the law was the manifestation of Christ. It's what Christ looks like in a specific context, what he would do and be in a given situation. And it was only in a context, because every time a new situation came up, Moses had to go back to God and get a clarification or get more laws. Like when a bunch of women came to him and said, there's something wrong here. All our male inheritors have died and the law says it has to go to a guy. But there's only women left. This is not right that we lose our land. And Moses goes to the Father and comes back and says, you're right. I've got a new law. And it expands it because it's a new context. What's the flow of Christ here? So the law, so here's the new covenant, the Holy Spirit, the cloud and the fire that rested on the temple, rests on us, rests on you, and rewrites your inner being to have the flows within you, not just a separate, like, this is what Christ would do in Paul's heart. So let's take that there and then write that in. No, let's actually take the flow and energy of Christ and merge it into Paul's heart. So Paul's heart gets shaped into the law. That is an expression of Christ, a glory expression. So that when you meet me and say stuff to me and hit me or give me a gift or whatever, Christ just comes out. But it's Paul. But it's Christ. And I no longer have to have this delay of thinking, what would Christ do in this situation? Because we're one. And increasingly, I know it just happens. He is. His presence is there. That's the new covenant. You're my people. And it's so close. It's not, you've joined my club and I'll visit you. No, the fire and the cloud rest on you as you are the temple. So whenever the angelic will look at you, they'll just see the mist of the Shekinah, or however you want to pronounce it. They'll see the mist and go, wow, Yahweh. But it's you as well. Verse 12 of Hebrews 8, for I'll be merciful towards their iniquities, and I'll remember their sins no more. Of course, when you understand the new covenant, because there'll be no more sin left within you. Because if sin is the tree of knowledge, which is independence from God, choosing to live without God, that's all undone, because now I am so entwined with Christ. The likeness is me. Wow. I mean, that's just extraordinary. So the outcome and the whole point of this, it's not that you just live a good life. I mean, it's not just even that you live a Christian life. I mean, it is not even just this life. Because even as Jesus is pointing, he left the world, we're leaving the world. But it's going to carry on, this process, something happening within us, where he is homed within us. So we are the likeness. We are one. And this, we're caught. You know, I often mull on words and how to recommunicate them. And the best thing I can come up with for holiness, because we'll be a holy people, is to be holy, or to perceive holiness, is to end up in a state of wonder. Like the seraphim. They're going, holy, 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 with what they see. And you might think, And if it's Western mindset, you think, well, they've seen something and have they got a bit bored with it? Now they see something else, so they say it again, holy, holy, holy. No, it's that they are in wonder, a state of wonder, and they express perfectly Hebraically, which is 3 times, which means not more than just the fullness. So if you say something twice, that's the best. If you say it 3 times, it's beyond the best. Holy, holy, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And the Hebraic letters for righteousness, would you believe, are to walk on a path through a door and then to lift your hands in wonder at the horizon. That's the literal pictogram of the words tzedek, righteousness. We come through so that we can truly be in a state of seeing him, wonder, because we're completely lined up on the inside. We're like him. He's become in us. He's I don't know how to say it without sounding like a heretic. He's become us and we've become him. It's offensive unless you scratch below the surface of the inability of English to express it. But we literally vibrate and shine with inseparable oneness. And that is so hard to express because all of our language, the whole English language, every modern language has come from within a culture that only understands separation. We do not understand, there is no expression of the unity we're talking about within our culture. There's hints of it. But this is way more than being just similar to something. This is inextricably, let's think of a simpler word, inextricably like a stick of rock with the name going all the way through. That only works if you're English or you're British. It's like you're wearing his clothes, he's wearing your clothes, you're wearing him as a set of clothes, he's wearing you as a set of clothes. He's wearing you as his perfume. You're wearing him as your perfume. Oh. You lose definition between you and him. But I'm not talking about some kind of cosmic just force. No, there's still personality, just like the Son and the Father and the Spirit. But who can tell the difference anymore? It's a wonder. The only people who could tell the difference would be the ones in the middle in the dance. Because to everyone else, it looks like one. Whew, Jesus. So that's I think slightly encouraging. That's what's going on. Whatever's going on in the world for you, whether it's toughness or great, and I don't think many people really have it great, because when you scratch below the surface, whatever you think you've got lots of, there's always something deep down that's struggling with something. Even if you've got all the money that Elon Musk has got, that's not what we long for. It's this, we long to go back to the garden and go, can I have a second try? I think I picked the wrong tree. And that's what happens. I just love the story of the man on the cross next to Jesus, the thief. And the one guy is swearing at Jesus and saying, we're all going to die and it's all gone horribly wrong. And here's the one thief and he goes, oh, Jesus. He tells the other guy off and says, don't attack him. He doesn't deserve this. We do. And he turns to Jesus, will you remember me? And this is extraordinary because he hasn't prayed a sinner's prayer. He hasn't even done a Zacchaeus and given away a load of money to the poor. In fact, he's just stolen stuff and probably getting off lightly with this crucifixion. And he goes, will you remember me? And Jesus says, today, this day. This day. A day, it's so Hebraic, a day. I mean, that was a day in the garden. It's like, come back to that day. This day, you will be with me and it's the garden. Paradiso. And I don't know what that means. Again, we have so many assumptions based on what we've been thrown at us. But the picture you're left with is that they're both going to wake up or whatever. They're going to come to, and they're walking in a garden. Back in Eden. And I guess the guy can now decide, can I try that tree of life? What's that like? So there's a feeling of energy, of oneness, the Spirit on you that's come to rewrite your entire inner being, to not just rewrite you with pen and ink or with the law that was written on stone tablets, but to write with a pen called Christ, because you can't tell the difference between the Spirit and Christ unless you look extremely closely. They're one. If the Spirit's writing, Christ is writing. And the laws of the Spirit is the laws of Christ written within you. So you express Jesus. And then at this point, like, words just become just words. It's more like, Shambola Karadasta. That's what I can live in and enjoy. Well, I've preached my legs to a numbness here. I don't really know what to say, other than I'm so excited about what Christ is doing in us and in this time. Every so often I listen to the news and it seems to get worse every day. But it seems like, to me, it's getting better every day. It just really depends where you look and what you value. And I think I'm really happy to go back to that day in the garden and go, yes, oneness, shall we dance, Jesus?